going on, everyone? Welcome back. We're gonna jump right into it with the Embiid and Jokic debate that was going on after Jokic won MVP today. A lot of people are upset that Embiid did not win it. Personally, like you and I both agreed that anyone between Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid was probably deserving of the award, so we had no problem with that. I think Jokic, stats wise, had one of the best statistical seasons in NBA history, I think. And he did it without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. for a majority of the year. So I understand why he won the award. I also understand why people think Joel Embiid should have won the award. But I think when it comes down to getting James Harden and having more help really than Jokic did is probably what put some of the voters over the edge on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, even though Philly got James Harden at the deadline and had a more healthy team, they were still the 4 seed, and Denver was the 6 seed. I mean, if Philly's the 1 seed and Embiid's putting up these type of numbers, then I think he has even more of an argument. Don't get me wrong, I do think Joel Embiid had a wonderful season, and I do think that they can be both first team All NBA, but I'm not sure. But yeah, Jokic had the best PER season of all time. I think Giannis was too, but really, really insane season for him, and he deserves it.
Yeah, I guess that segues us well into the first series we'll talk about today, which is Miami versus Philadelphia. And you and I both thought that this series was going to be over in 5 or a sweep. Embiid comes back, and I guess showing why he could have won the MVP is how impactful he is for the team. They win game 3, and then James Harden finally plays like vintage James Harden, and they win game 4. Now you go back to Miami, and this series has been a tale of home games. Like at home, Miami shot the 3 much better than Philadelphia did, and at home, Philly shot it much better than Miami did. And each of the teams that shot the 3 better won. So I think it's going to come down to who shoots the 3 better. I think Embiid is a huge, huge piece for the Sixers, of course, in this series, and probably is going to change the way that Miami has to play because they can't get as many inside buckets because of his presence. But I think the series goes 7 for sure now, and I would not be surprised if Philly wins this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's rough when Miami has holes, like obvious holes. They cannot score sometimes for like long periods of time. And Jimmy Butler had a really efficient game. He was even 2 for 6 from 3, which is better than he was all year. I think he was like 9% after the All-Star break. But
Right, yeah.
dropped 40 points. And even Bam had a really efficient game. And Bam does not really play well when Embiid plays, but nobody else is scoring the ball. Lowry's 3 for 10, 0 for 6 from 3. Duncan Robinson doesn't even play for them anymore. He gets DMP coach's decisions, and you pay him $90 million.
Which is kind of shocking because they shot the 3 terribly. I was like, you might as well put him in at this point. You got nothing to lose.
Totally. Oladipo 1 for 5 from 3. Hero 1 for 5. Gabe Vincent 0 for 4. They could not shoot the 3.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you got fucking Danny Green pulling up for transition 3s and just smacking him like he's in San Antonio again.
Yeah.
Just playing out of his mind. And then Harden shooting 6 for 10 from 3. I don't know the last time I saw an efficient game from 3 for Harden, but right. Yeah, the dilemma is if Harden accepts his player option this offseason, it's $47 million for this next season.
Well, he already declined it.
Oh, so he doesn't get like another opportunity?
I think he's just going to continue to get paid what. Like his contract goes until after next season.
Right.
He declined that player option that he has to opt in. So he's eligible for a new contract, which means he needs to get paid. They need to sign him to a lot of money, which is going to take it way over $47 million.
I heard the thing is if it's a max deal by like 2026, James Harden will be like 38. Will get paid $61 million.
Which is just not worth it. And like he had one good game, and if he finishes the playoffs well and they win a championship, maybe he forces you to have to.
Yeah, then you can pay him, no doubt. You don't.
Well, then because then he forces you to have to pay him, even though you may not want to. But if that game was just like one game of him turning back the clock, then we'll see what happens. But
even the announcer said James Harden turned back the clock, and I was like, wow, that's sad.
Yeah, but if he plays like this the rest of the playoffs, then they have a legit chance of winning a championship because that's the James Harden you brought to Philadelphia. That's what you brought him for.
Right.
For those 25 to 30 points tonight to help Embiid when honestly Embiid didn't shoot that efficiently last night and didn't play that great.
He really didn't. He didn't even take a lot of shots, so Harden had to step up, and then everybody else stepped up around him. They were all really efficient all around too.
Yeah,
I think it's just going to be a matter of can like guys like Cork Maz and Shake Milton really step up for Philly because
right.
we know Miami's really deep and they're always going to have guys that can play on the floor. But Philly has the best two players on the court, I think, when they're both at their peak. So this
Agreed.
is going to be a really good series.
Yeah, let's move on to Phoenix versus Dallas. So another series that we both thought would end in 4 or 5. And then my favorite non-Bulls player, Luka Doncic, finally got help from other guys. In game 3, Jalen Brunson steps up with 28. In game 4, Dorian Finney-Smith hits 8 threes. Reggie Bullock hits threes. There's a guys around him that hit threes. And I'm finally helping him out. And honestly, Luka didn't play that great in either game 3 or 4. He was very inefficient. He did not get the free throw line as much, which is I think we'll talk about a little bit because a lot of people are complaining about his flopping. And yes, he does flop, and so does everyone in the NBA to get foul calls. But you really can't complain when CP3 is on the other end also flopping. And Devin Booker flops too. People say Devin Booker never flops. Jalen Brunson was driving to the rim, and Devin Booker flew across the floor like he had just been run over by Giannis. Jalen Brunson does not do that to you. And then Jay Crowder is one of the worst flops in the league.
Yeah, he's quite annoying.
I do not want to hear from anyone that, Luka's just an unbelievable flopper. That's the only reason he gets calls. No, he only makes about 6 free throws a game. So the other 30 points he's scoring is just because he's lucky? No, he's good. Everyone he's really, really good. And when he's getting help from other guys, they're a very hard team to beat.
Yeah, and God, I hate Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's so bad. But yeah, like you said, the other guys around Dallas really stepping up is what's huge. But Chris Paul, 5 points, fouling out in the third quarter or something like that.
Bad game 3 also.
Yeah, and he had a really bad game or two against the Pelicans too. I've never seen Chris Paul like this. He's always been the guy you look at. This is the consistent guy who's gonna get you 20 when he needs to or 15 assists when he needs to.
Yeah.
And this was just a dud game. He took 4 shots. Yeah, I really don't know what's happening with that. But I totally thought this series was over after 2 games. I was like, this is not gonna go well.
Well,
you predicted Dallas in 7, didn't you?
I did. And then I'm
proud of you.
Went back on that and said Phoenix in 4, but now that Dallas is 2-2 again, I'll stick with Dallas in 7.
Yeah.
My original pick is looking good so far.
Yeah.
But remember last year in the finals, CP3 had a great game 1 and 2, and he was nowhere to be seen in games 3 and 4 really. And for honestly the rest of that series, he was decent, but he was not the Chris Paul you needed to win the championship. And they need Chris Paul. If not in this series against Golden State, because we'll talk about that in a second. But Golden State's going to win that series against Memphis. Yeah. Against Golden State, Chris Paul can't have off games. You'll get swept if Chris Paul has off games because even when Chris Paul is an on game, Golden State can still beat you.
Yeah, no, they're too explosive. And yeah, Chris Paul is just a huge force for their offense. Even more than. I don't know, even more than Steph Curry and the Warriors. I just feel like the Warriors just have more weapons because then you go to Devin Booker.
Yeah,
maybe
because Devin Booker's 30 points become less impactful when Chris Paul's not playing well.
Right.
Because Chris Paul, if he's not having, he may only score 12 points, but that 14 assists that he gets is what makes the team so much better. And when he's just honestly just out of character type game for Chris Paul, he's usually much smarter when picking up fouls and stuff. He knows JJ Redick made a great point. His 5th foul yesterday. Chris Paul cut in front of Jalen Brunson and then fell over. He knows the rules. He knows that's now an offensive foul. He should have been smarter. Right. So I think the series goes it probably goes 7 games now. I think Phoenix takes game 5. I think Dallas takes game 6 and on their home floor. And then it really comes down to game 7 is who shows up. Because the best player in the series is on Dallas, but the second 2 best players are on Phoenix.
So, yeah, for Dallas, it's about Brunson and Finney-Smith and Kleber. They all got to hit their shots. And
can you hit your
Brunson
shots?
Especially needs to create some sort of other offense, and he's been doing that. And that's why they won 2 games,
right?
Because they really don't have anybody else who can do that. They got shooters around everywhere. I didn't even know Davis Bertans was on the team. He has 9 fingers. I'm pretty sure. If you guys didn't know that, but he shot 4 for 6 from 3. Yeah, Luka was 1 for 10 from 3.
Yep. So we just talked about Memphis and Golden State, so let's quickly gloss over that. I think that series ends in 5, maybe 6 at most now, because Ja's out for game 4. We don't know what his status is for game 5. I think Golden State wins game 4. Game 5 is then up for grabs, and if they don't win game 5, I think it's almost for sure they win game 6.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and it sucks that that's how this is gonna end. I hope Jack can get back for game 5.
Well, Jordan Poole is suspended for tonight's game, right? For game
Yeah,
4?
I think so. I think so.
Which I thought that was not he did not intend, I don't think, to pull Ja's knee. So if there was
It
intent, then
wasn't as
that's
blatant as it was, but like they just suspended Dylan Brooks for the.
right. So
They can't really like
the
get away
fallout,
with
yeah,
that.
the
Yeah,
fallout has to be that.
right. But yeah, the Warriors are just too loaded. You can't take out their best player, and the Warriors are like, all right, we have 4 others who can score 25 on you now instead of
Yep.
5. So they're. I agree. I think they're gonna win these next 2 games and move on.
Yeah, and then let's talk about our favorite series, which is Milwaukee versus Boston. Milwaukee won last game on Giannis had what 42, 12, and 9 or something like that.
He had
It was
42, 12, and 8.
absurd. But they play so game 4 is tonight. As I think it's gonna be a lot like game 2. If Boston shoots the ball well, they probably win. If Boston doesn't shoot the ball well, they'll probably lose. And oh my God, top 10 player in the league, Jason Tatum, all of a sudden went what 3 of 25 from the field. It's probably an exaggeration, but what was it? It
4 of
was
19.
4 of 19, 0 for 6 from 3. You got Marcus Smart, 1 of 8 from the field. And like we said after game 2, never again will Grant Williams shoot 5 of 9 or 6 of 9 from 3. What do you shoot in game 3? 1 of 6.
Right.
So I think we kind of expected a lull to come from Boston after really no one missed in game 2.
No doubt. And they're playing I mean, I guess both teams are playing 7-man rotations. These teams got to be really tired. The thing is, Milwaukee's been here before. They fought through these series before. And I guess so was Boston, but it was a really young Boston.
Right. This is a different team.
But yeah, Drew Holiday, 3 for 10. He's playing well. It's all about the role players stepping up again.
Yeah, Grayson Allen had 0 points in that game. Wes Matthews only had 3. So really, besides Giannis and Drew Holiday, they got almost nothing. Besides Pat Connaughton with 11 off the bench. So if you're Milwaukee and Boston, if you're Boston, you're looking at, hey, our best player shot 4 of 19, and we only lost by 2. If you're Milwaukee, you're saying, hey, we kept their best player to not shoot well, and really we kept their entire team from playing well. If our team hits more shots, we can win game 4 as well.
So, yeah, and I do think if that tip-in went in or any of those other layups before then, I think Boston would have won this game in overtime.
Yeah.
I think they had all the momentum going in their favor, and they would have just taken it, but didn't go in.
No, it did not. And you lose by 2. And whatever, you can make excuses all you want, but we made a ton of excuses last series for Brooklyn, and none of them mattered. Because a win is a win in the playoffs. So, you'll take any win you can get, and then it's a new game 4. So
we'll see you in the comments, Duffy.
Who's your pick for game 4 then?
I am gonna go Boston though. I know.
I am too. I think because I think their season's on the line. I think if they lose this game, you cannot beat Giannis.
Then it goes back to Milwaukee for game 5.
Goes back to Milwaukee for game 6, but yeah.
Yes.
So if Milwaukee wins this game and goes up 3-1, I think it's very hard for Boston to come back and give them almost 0 chance of winning. If they do win this, though, I think it goes 7. And maybe, like I said at the beginning of the series, I think Boston wins the series in 7 because Middleton's not playing. But that does not mean I don't want Boston to lose. And I want Giannis to have 50 again tonight and win by 20.
He had like 25 and 10 with like 8 minutes left in the third quarter. It was insane.
He's just so good. He can't be guarded. And I know in game 1 and 2, Boston did a good job on him, but
Brook Lopez does not get enough credit for how good of a rim protector he is. He's insane at it.
And that's part of the reason Tatum is struggling, because usually he can finish inside and get those baskets. He can't in this series. He's relying so much on his jump shot, and if his jump shot's not falling like last game, then I think he's got Drew Holiday switched on him a lot of the games sometimes too.
100%, dude. Drew Holiday is going everywhere.
Yeah, he played 43 minutes last game, and I think he'll play another 40 minutes tonight. I think
Drew, yeah.
Budenholzer doesn't give a fuck. He'll just keep him out there.
No, Budenholzer, yeah. Budenholzer's like a mini Thibodeau. No
Boon's
doubt.
got to be like the most mid coach to be so successful.
I know you got a little lucky and got the best, one of the best players of all time on his team.
Like he's not a bad coach by any means,
If
but
they didn't win the title, he was getting fired, and
yeah,
everybody knew that. And he won the title. That lucky
right. Because he just doesn't jump out as like, oh, he's a great coach, top 10 coach. And that's
No,
coming from a championship contender.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and obviously he's not doing anything wrong. They just won the NBA championship, but
Yeah.
and they might win it again. But yeah, he's mid, no doubt.
Right.
He's no
Because I'm
Billy
like if Boston or like Miami wins a championship, Spoelstra and Udoka get so much more credit than Budenholzer will if the Bucks win. Giannis
100%.
gets 90% of that credit.
Dude,
As he should.
They win.
Deservingly so.
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's it for this episode. Please subscribe if you have not already. Go check out the TikTok. We're uploading constantly on there. It's just beat the buzzer. No spaces, no caps, nothing like that. And we'll catch you guys next time.